spoken about it anywhere in our curriculums and history here in the schools or whatever. And he is correct. You know, Islam began to destroy places for Hindus. In fact, 2,000 places of worship for the Hindus were replaced by mosques. Right? A place of worship, a mosque is as well.
We seem to be having just a little bit of audio issue. We'll get you right back on, Waleed. Let me turn it over to Kamal, who can possibly add to that, and then we'll come back to you.
Yes, I can hear him. I can hear my sound echoing big time on the other side, too.
Okay. Our techs are on that. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Well, what Waleed was saying, it's very true, you know. But today, the invasion, it is when you look at Imam Abdul Rauf, Brother Ike, you know, and what he said in the United States of America. You got to look who's funding him and who sent him here to the United States. Saudi Arabia is the main funder. This is where the money is coming for to build Ground Zero Mosque and what so have you. Let's question Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia within itself prohibit any religion, specifically Christianity and Judaism, and the sole existence of the Saudi religion is to destroy civilization, but number one, Judaism and Christianity. So therefore, you know, it's a strategy that, you know, whatever Abdul Rauf said, you know, it is permitted for him to say what he said. And he's being the politician, you know, Islamic politician, just like what Khalid ibn Walid did and what so have you, and many other Khalifa. They made strategies and made peace treaties until they become stronger, and then they will destroy the civilization itself that made peace with them and allowed them in. So this is only the first infrastructure in the United States of America before the second one, which will come about, al-irhab, which is terrorism, which is what Tom said. There will be hundreds of thousands of young men. They will be causing destruction to our civilization only to say we change our mind later on.
Let me turn it back over to Waleed to finish your thoughts, and then we'll take our next call.
Well, you know, we have to understand, I mean, if I may add to what Brother Kamal said, the Muslim Brotherhood's agenda, which is the umbrella organization of all Islamic Sunni terrorists from a Sunni background, they declared from the infancy of the Muslim Brotherhood on how to combat the West. And they went to the same methodology that was in Islam. In other words, as Muhammad progressed, the beginning of the Quran was Makkiyan surahs, which were the peaceful verses inviting people to Islam. The Madaniyan surahs in Medina were the jihadi verses where the war is declared. On all these resolutions and all the different methodologies that happened throughout the history of Islam needs to be replicated in the West. So this is why Muslims talk about Makkiyan surahs, how peaceful Islam is and so on and so forth. The invitation first, then warfare. All this methodology has been enacted historically in Islam, is being exactly happening today in the West, in which the dissemination of Islamic ideology and agenda comes through what they call the peaceful means. But we need to understand when Muslims speak about peaceful means or peacefulness of Islam, we need to understand this is simply the tactic of the Makkiyan era of Islam, and sooner or later we'll be dealing more with the Madaniyan era. So you have the good cop and the bad cop playing this game, and the slick willies of the Islamist movement playing this game as well. So we need to understand that this is simply replicating how this virus enters into a society. This is how it was able, you know, to enter into Egypt, into Spain. By, you know, Spain, how was Spain taken over? It wasn't through just simply an invasion process. It was using the progressives in Spain and using individuals who betrayed their own country as exactly what we see happening today, hoping for at one point in time in future that a real invasion of this country will be commenced from countries like Iran, possibly Turkey in the future, if these countries ever gain nuclear ability.
Thank you for that, Waleed. Let's take our final call of this evening. Welcome to Jihad Exposed. Welcome, you're on the air with Jihad Exposed. You're on the air with Jihad Exposed, going once. There we go. Who do we have on air with us? We must have lost that call. Why don't we do this? If Tom, you can give us a summary now that we're winding down this evening's program. If Americans do not stand up against this, if we do not think that it's very important, one vote, one person, to stand up, if we don't see somebody standing up towards this, what can we see in America in 10, 20, 30 years from now?
Yeah, we see Paris and we see the United Kingdom, countries that are a mere shadow of what they were as leaders of Western civilization. That's what we see. So we here in the United States of America have a wonderful opportunity to see the consequences of the Islamic worldview implemented at a small percentage into a Western civilization. The UK, we're seeing a bit of it in Germany, but the UK and Paris, France, are two key places. Let me make one very important point following on what Waleed just said, and this simple question that Imam Rauf and everyone else says about Islam being a religion of peace. If you take as the definitive symbolic holder of the truth, the essence of Islam, if you take Saudi Arabia, the land of the two holy cities, if you take the Saudis as the definitive articulation of Islam, and you say, okay, they're saying it's a religion of peace, why in the world do they have a sword on their national flag? What is the symbolic reason and purpose for a sword being on the flag of a country that proclaims it to be essentially a peaceful religion? It's peaceful as long as you submit yourself to it. What does Islam mean? Submit. As long as you submit, it's very peaceful. If you stand against it, it is deadly and dangerous. We are doing deadly and dangerous work here in the United States, standing against the civilization jihad, trying to keep it from becoming a hot or kinetic jihad. If Americans don't wake up, if the evangelical church doesn't wake up, and if there's pastors watching this show right now, you have an obligation to take a leadership position, teaching your flock about the dangers of Islam, Sharia law, to the United States Constitution, and to the Judeo-Christian faith. If Americans and Jews and Christians don't wake up, this country in 20 years will be a mere shadow of itself, and it will not be a place that any of us on this show today would want to live in any way, shape, or form. We don't want to raise our kids in it. That's why I'm giving my life to fight this battle, this day, in this manner.
Thank you, Tom. Kamal, any final comments?
Well, in my humble opinion, what Tom said is really good, but our fight gotta extend beyond, because the Saudi flag that he talked about, when you read the Saudi flag, what it says, it's in a green, it says, there's no peace until everyone says, La ilaha illallah wa Muhammad Rasulullah, that until Islam is supreme. And if you don't, then the last suggestion was the sword, which is your portion will be the sword. That's what it means. And we see this on the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood, they have the two swords, which is the House of War and the House of Peace. And both of them, these are the two big administrations that every country has to